And listening to you, one of the things I've sensed from you in the short time that we've been able to spend some time together is you are so balanced and disciplined in everything that you do. And for so many of us out there, we have a hard time with discipline, whether it be with our careers, our family, our faith, and different things. What is your wisdom, what is your advice on how to stay disciplined and keep all those things in the proper balance?
Well, Dave, I think we start by understanding that if standard of living is your number one objective, quality of life almost never improves. But if quality of life is your number one objective, then standard of living invariably improves. We need to, as businessmen and women, we need to always maintain the home court advantage. And what am I talking about, the home court advantage? Well, in athletics, they talk about it all the time. They play all year before the playoffs. We want the home court advantage. Well, in marriage, home court advantage is, what happens at home. What happens at home impacts what happens on the job. What happens on the job impacts what happens at home. That's where that balance comes in. When I'm at home, I really am at home. But when I'm on the job, I really am on the job. Because of the integrity, I don't have to worry about what I said or did yesterday. I can concentrate what I've got to do and want to do today.
You've spoken in the past about making an appointment with yourself every morning to begin some discipline and get your day going and predictable on it every day. Do you also do that same sort of thing at home, where you make yourself an appointment at home?
Perhaps at home I make it even more significant, Dave, because I tell you, you've met that pretty red-headed wife of mine. Incidentally, when I talk about her, I always call her the redhead, because she is a decided redhead. One day she just decided, she's going to be a redhead. She actually made a deal with her hairdresser. Look, you keep me in the red and I'll keep you in the black. And so far it's worked out real good. But I think at home there, I generally start my day, I'm up earlier than she is, I generally start my day in prayer and Bible study. God demands that we be first in everything, first with our tithes, first with our time, first with our service. And we put Him first and everything else falls in place. Then the redhead and I generally have about an hour together at breakfast. We read the paper at breakfast. We talk about what's there. We don't have any agenda per se. When we eat out, the best part of the meal for us is after we've finished eating, then we have a quiet cup of coffee. So with that home, firmly in balance, then it makes the other easier. We've recently celebrated our 57th honeymoon. Anniversaries can be boring, but I've never been on a boring honeymoon yet. And we're more in love today than ever before. Have more fun together, talk more. To be honest, one of the reasons that we get along so well is we have that perfect balance. She was the fifth smartest in a class of 400, and I was in the part of the class that made the top half possible. So on balance, this just worked out real well. She too has a great sense of humor.
This is the question of commitment. How does commitment play into acquiring discipline?
Commitment plays heavily in everything. If you've made a commitment, when you hit the rough spots, not if, when you hit the rough spots, your immediate thought is, how can I solve the problem? If you've not made the commitment when you hit the rough spot, whether it's in marriage or education or career or whatever, your first thought is, man, how can I get out of this deal? And so that commitment plays a huge role, and is, some people are about as committed as a kamikaze pilot on his 39th mission. I mean, they don't really take it that seriously.
Yeah, in my business, I had started young. 20 years old, I opened my first women's health club. And after I turned 30, I found myself bankrupt and had lost everything. And even after having achieved some pretty early success. But I knew that my destiny was to affect the quality of women's lives. But even my dad said when he found out I was going back into the business, are you nuts? That's tough when your own father questions your commitment to something. And of course, I knew that that was my destiny, and commitment to me was an important thing because I never wavered. I never had a choice. And when you have a passion for something, that commitment becomes a major thing. And in rebuilding, I was able to rely on an unwavering commitment. And I know that at your mid-40s, you had to make some serious choices in your life. And after all that sacrifice and work, you had to reevaluate your commitment and move forward. Tell us about that experience.
Well, an elderly black lady had spent the weekend in our home on that July 4th weekend. And though I had been baptized when I was 12, been to church about 1,500 times, I did not know Christ as my Lord. When she left, the commitment was there. And it was almost as if God then spoke to me and said, I've let you waste 45 years. Now I've got some things I want you to do. So I'm going to show you some things immediately so you'll never be confused about who's doing what and who's responsible for what. And it was just absolutely astonishing. I am so grateful to be able to say, and you of course already know this, both of you gentlemen do, that I have not solicited a speaking engagement now in 32 years, and I do not use a booking agency. But because of the fact that people have come to know that they can bring their 8-year-old daughter or son to one of our sessions, they'll never hear anything sexist, they'll never hear a suggestive story, they'll never hear a profane word. I use only adult language and lots of 4-letter words. Commitment, responsibility, dedication, you know, those kind of adult words. And a lot of 4-letter words is good and best and real and fair and hope and love. Yeah. And when you use that kind of language, you avoid also offending anybody. Nobody gets upset when you talk about those things. As a matter of fact, they are encouraged because they can build on that. You know,
you reminded me, you taught me the difference between involvement and commitment about 3 decades ago, and I'll see if you remember this. It reminded you of ham and eggs.
Yeah.
You want to finish?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can. I do remember that one, yeah. A chicken and a hog were walking down the street, you know, and they were talking about breakfast. And so the chicken said, let's go in here and, you know, have some eggs and some bacon for breakfast. And the hog said, oh, no way. He said, for you, that simply is a minor issue, but with me, it's total commitment.
The chicken was involved, but the pig was committed.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Well, both of you gentlemen spoke about unwavering commitment, and when it comes to goals and goal setting, whether it be for a personal basis or for your businesses or other things in your life you want to do, it's probably safe to say that achieving those goals with no commitment is a pretty safe bet. But when you do get that unwavering commitment that both of you spoke about, how does that make it better, more productive in achieving those goals and reassessing those goals and staying on top of them?
Well, let me simply say that the level of your commitment is the critical issue, and it depends also on how badly you want to achieve those. The first 2.5 years I was in sales, I struggled desperately, and I do mean desperately. I remember some very difficult times where they disconnected my telephone, cut off my lights. I had to turn a car back in. I couldn't pay for it. I was a wandering generality, among other things. In one 5-year stretch, I was in 17 different deals, and that's all there were deals. But what happened was I went to a meeting at the end of 2.5 years, and a man named P.C. Merrill was there. When it was over, and he had, for whatever reason, zeroed in on me, he told me he wanted to talk to me. And so he said, you know, I've watched you for 2.5 years, and I've never seen such a waste. That'll get your attention. And I said, what do you mean, Mr. Merrill? He said, I believe you could be the national champion. I believe you could go all the way to the top. become an executive in this company if you just believed in yourself and went to work on a regular schedule. Well, I was raised with a lot of love, but nobody had ever said things like, you could be a great one, you could be a national champion. But because of his integrity and because of his success, he had written the training program, had set all of the records, I believed him. When I left that meeting, that little car, I was driving a Crosley automobile without a heater, and it was cold. I started not to go to the meeting. But on the way home, that little car never touched the pavement. I mean, it was just something. Had a demonstration that night. There were 3 couples there. They never had a chance. I mean, they were no longer talking with a little guy from a little town. They were talking to the new national champion. I didn't quite make it, but I did finish second out of 7,000 salespeople. The year before, I had not been in the top 5,000. Now, my commitment was I wanted so badly to be successful. The commitment I made was, Mr. Merrill had said, go to work on a regular schedule and believe in yourself. At exactly 9 o'clock every morning, without fail, rain or shine, cold or hot, I was knocking on somebody's door. Now, the interesting thing is, the redhead would ask me, well, where are you going? I said, well, I got an appointment. I never told her the appointment was with myself to be knocking on that door. Now, that year, finishing second and receiving the best promotion the company had to offer, not one time did I ever finish in the top 20. Not one single month, not one single week, top 20. But at the end of the year, I was number 2 because there were no blanks. I sold every single week. That discipline, following the commitment. Now, to be honest, one of the things that was involved, if we had reached a certain sales level by Friday night, I didn't work on Saturday. So the redhead kept pretty careful check on just how the sales were going this week, because she wanted to be taken out to dinner on Saturday night, and we always did that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Zig Ziglar. Inspiring true performance.